think the greatest adversity and challenge I ever had to face in my life was how to respond perfectly. You know, you compare that to many things. How do I win a game perfectly? How do I write an essay perfectly? Everyone has an aspect of perfection, but majority of the time, you never will come close to it. The beauty in that is often what you don't realize that without striving for perfection, you reach it. And that's always been my greatest defeat, you could say. I'm not a perfectionist, but I try. And you imagine in a controversial experience like mine, you would somehow think, how do I respond in the right way? How do I say it all perfectly? Everything. But you can't. You could have a day's worth of a podcast. You could write an album. You could put it all into poetry. You could put it all into art. You could put it into a script of a movie, but it's not going to cover every single little detail, and it never will, as it shouldn't, because you can't perfect anything. You can try, but even when you try and you think you've perfected it, something will come across that contradicts everything. So my description is the fact that no matter how hard I try to state everything, I'm going to forget. I'll probably wake up tomorrow and realize none of it actually happened, or forget the majority of it. And then, who knows, a week or a month or a year later, it pops back up. And I want to state it that way, because I think that will be me perfecting it, but it won't be. It'll be me adjusting it. But you're in the moment, as I am now. There's no second takes. There's no rebuttals. I've already had one attempt. And it didn't seem right. It wasn't the fact that for me it wasn't right. It was the fact that for you, it wouldn't crack it. But that gets to my point of validation. Me being who I am and stating things that I've witnessed and seen, you need validation. That's all you want. You can't just assume that I know everything. Because if you did, that would mean Jimmy Neutron, which I'm not. But you like to assume that I'm the opposite, and that I'm a complete idiot. And to be fair, I'm both. I'm both. Maybe I'm in the middle. Who knows? But through my experience, people assume that I'm oblivious. They like to. I think it gives them confidence to keep reenacting the things that I've seen and experienced beforehand. But here's the counter to that. What if I knew everything? As anyone would if they'd experienced it. And what if instead of being oblivious, like you think, I was in constant denial? If you think of it, it's a comparison. You can see how both would be easily misconstrued. It would be. Without context, they're the exact same thing. They are. When you get in depth, they're complete different things. And when I got to the point when I stepped out of that veil of denial, everything clicked for me. And I was afraid of it. There were multiple times when it happened. And the easier thing to do was to step back into my comfort zone, which meant that none of it had actually happened. That was not who I am. Couldn't be. Because look at the grand scheme of things. It's something that's never happened apart from a fairy tale or a Disney movie. Right? It's a myth. And if you look at it in that perspective, you compare it to reality. A myth has no reality in the world we live in. Either they're abolished or they're scratched from existence, like they never happened. You know, it's the way the world goes. I could add onto the fact that, you know, the metaphors I received: Aladdin, Simba, Narnia, Lord of the Rings. Who knows? You could probably come up with some yourself. But I'm not going to. Because they aren't me. And I'm not them. But you forget, end of the day, I'm human. And I'm just like you. Maybe different. Most likely different. Yeah, definitely different. But in the state and day and age we live in, criticizing someone for the way they are, that's quite 18th or 19th century. It's not the day and age we're in. We're supposed to be in this golden era where everyone's the same. No one's different. I mean, people are different, but it's what makes them exceed. You know, imagine if you're normal. What gives you the touching edge over anyone else? Nothing, because you're the exact same as the other person that's fighting for your position. You're not. I don't think it's the fact that people can't accept different. I think it's the fact that people despise different. And they try to make them conform to the society we live in. But they don't realize that a lot of us don't want to ever conform to a society like ours. Why? Because our society isn't always what you think. If you had to realize and you had the knowledge of everything that had ever happened in our 20th century society, I can guarantee you probably wouldn't want to be a part of it. Even if you were a millionaire, who knows? You wouldn't. But it's the day and age we live in that makes it so hard for people to succeed. And the thing that hurts me is not the fact that the people bring me down aren't the ones at the top who are already, succeeding and exceeding expectations, but it's the ones that you grew up with and the ones that have experienced the exact same life as you. Know you head to toe, have caught the bus with you to school every day, went to the same schools as you, lived in the same neighborhoods. It's them. How? What a shame. What a shame. It's a fucking crab pot. And we tear each other down without realizing that, okay, you can assume someone's that way. You can assume. You don't know. And you may think you're doing the right thing in your mind. You may do. And then, who knows, 4, 5 months, years, decades later, you realize, okay, maybe I fucked up. Maybe he was going to give back and fight for the one thing that I've struggled for. But you'll never admit that. Not now. People's ego limits the way they think. It limits the way they think. For me, events I've overcome, most people view it as adversity, and to an extent, I do. I do view it as adversity overcome. But I also realize that there's a big aspect of privilege. Okay? I'll dumb it down. And I'll put into events that I've, witnessed. I was privileged to experience a childhood that brought me joy. I struggled with adjusting the fact that not all kids had the same upbringing. I was privileged to gain access to education that maybe the top 10% of the world would ever receive. What I struggled with was adjusting to the fact that most of these kids in the same position couldn't care less about the education. Right? I was always a big dreamer in high school. And a lot of high schools is the wrong place. But you gotta have aspirations, and you have to. Otherwise, you're conforming. And people deny that. I even had that. Came to a point in high school where I realized fuck, I'm not the same as everyone else that's here. Most of their parents, it's a big billet at the end of the day, but for my parents putting me in this high school, it wasn't a bill, it was an investment, because they're putting me in a school that they knew that me and my brother would succeed in and would beat expectations. Not the fact that we had a chip on our shoulder, but the fact that we'd seen the world that a lot of people would deny and never accept. We're a mixture between both. And you could say, yeah, well, You're never the poorest. You're never the richest. And I wouldn't even say you're in the middle. But it's the fact that from a young age, I had parents that showed me love. They fought for me, my brother and my sister, because they wanted a better life for us, and that wasn't living the same way they'd lived. But in mind, I don't think they'd realized at the time that we would have the opportunity to change, not just the landscape of the way that we'd grown up, but for those who had grown up in similar environments and demographics. Yeah, it's one thing people could never accept, living in the crab pot of a reality that we're in. We fight for what? Quick cash? It's a hypocrisy when you look at the people that succeed and you think, oh, okay, so I have a business, but it's not the fact that you have a business compared to theirs that makes them succeed. It's the fact that they have backing that helps them. They have contacts. And when you come from nothing, you have how many people, apart from those that have come from the same area? But you imagine if those that grew up with nothing, they grew up in the hood, everyone gave back to communities, of course, but there was this sort of connection between all of them. It's little things. It would mean that there'll be less disparity. It would mean that everyone has an equal playing field. Maybe not equal, but an actual fucking chance. An actual fucking chance. Rather than being left to your own demise. But then again, if I state those sort of things, you come to the conclusion, how does that relate? That's me talking about the grand scheme of things. All you want to hear is validation for yourself that we're on the same page. And I know exactly who I am. But you need me to say that. Not the fact that I can accept who I am. The fact that you need to hear it. And I can do that. What I can't do is enforce division and hate and separation for things that I've witnessed and experienced, because I know firsthand there is love on both sides. Maybe there was more beforehand, but there was. And to an extent, I am the reason that there is so much. And I hate that. Because of one simple reaction, raw emotion, which you can't control, created it. But in saying that, with how it started, I'm the only person that can truly end it. And the thing is, on both sides, there are people that don't want to end it. There are people that prefer war, desire division, and feed off that on both sides. A prejudiced mind isn't conflicted between just what they've experienced. They use history as such. And to be fair, that is a right statement to use. But then again, you can't judge someone on what their ancestors have done, or what their parents have done, or even what they've done. Because I guarantee their kids, they weren't experienced to that, would be kids. They'd probably forget So we need to think about the future rather than a short-term solution which ends with a Treaty of Versailles-like narrative. But for me to avoid that, you still need my statement. And I'm not going to state everything that I have witnessed, everything I've overcome. Because at the end of the day, it is privilege and struggle. Both. Neither. What I will state is the 3 most significant effects that you need to hear to know that we're on the same page. Now, I'm not just spinning a complete tale. What started off with me enjoying life, winning a meaningless life of just dictating my own decisions and being who I am, and led me to where I am now. But in between, I reached the highest of highs and plummeted to the lowest of lows. And I don't think you can ever compare or even understand the full extent of them without context. And I'm not going to give you that today. What I will give you is a brief description. So it started with me enjoying life, like I said, being who I am, university, taking life on, as you should, as any person should, as any 19-year-old should. I came across a point where I started suffering mental, physical, and social media abuse for the fact that I was different. The fact that people enjoyed shaming me because I was born different. And that was just in the physical appearance, just the physical aspect of things, not even cutting into my personality. No, it hurt me for a long time, but you wouldn't realize that until you get to the point where I came across that, I enjoyed, but was comfortable being who I am in my own skin, as any person should be. And I happened to be singing in a car. And for some reason, people found it hilarious that I was being myself. But what they forget is, I was never singing for you to hear. And I'm not trying to say that if I was, I'd try harder. Or if I wasn't, I'd try worse. It's the fact that I wasn't impressing anyone apart from myself. I was just being who I am. And people found that hilarious. Blew up on all platforms and circulated media, which is, dictated in my country by radio stations, and I took advantage of that. Turned me into their own hometown Britney Spears, where they could just constantly hack away at a person for being who they are. And you imagine if they'd experienced that abuse beforehand, physical, mental, and social media abuse, and then you top that on top. my reaction was raw emotion. It wasn't anything apart from that. When it's a raw emotion, you can't control it. I apologize for that. I apologize for reacting the way I did. But I'm not sorry for it. I'm not sorry for it. I'm not sorry for calling people out. Because people deny the fact that there was shit going on beforehand that led to it. They just think, oh, he just found that out and then blew up. They don't think hard and long about what happened beforehand. They come to conclusions. They make their own assumptions on what happened. But the beauty of it, it's that aspect of karma. I'm not saying I deserve the beauty of it, but people stood up for me. Far and wide. Majority of them weren't the people that I loved and have known my whole life. They were people that didn't know me, but seemed thought that there was somehow metaphorically, I'm not gonna say, but metaphorically beauty in it, because I was being who I am. In a world that makes you conform, originality is one of those things that you can't impersonate. You can't, no matter how hard you try. You be yourself. People love or hate you for that simple reason. But it comes down to it. End of the day, you go back, jump in your bed, and you're happy because you know that that's me. I embrace who I am. I'm not ashamed. I embrace that shit. I step up to the plate. And for 2 years I didn't. Because I tried fitting in so hard with people that, first of all, despised me for that and never wanted me to be. Doesn't mean I hate them for that. It means the fact that there are times in your life when you realize for your own benefit, you have to do what's right for you. You have to do what's right for you. Even if you know that you're gonna walk a lonely road. A lonesome road. And it's gonna be filled with pain, trauma, and adversity. But taking that path is what defines you. Because without that, you're just another street merchant, another tradesman, or another accountant. But here's the thing. Through that path, you can go 2 ways. There's always 2 ways you can take. You can take the path that leads to resentment and hate. And you despise everything and everyone that's ever done you wrong. Or you can forgive and forget. And I think that's one of the most powerful things, because in doing so, it gives love back. And when you give love back to people that are consumed by hate, they don't know how to respond. It's one of those things, they don't know how to respond. They get confused, or, you know, like I said, they get confused. They don't know what to do. But when you know that you're doing that, in your mind, if there is a God, you know that He's the only one that can judge your decision. But there's that confidence knowing that doing the action, enacting it, you know you're doing the right thing. And no matter what anybody says to you, you won't ever let it bring you down again. Because you know in your mind that you're doing the right thing. If you're doing the right thing, then don't ever let anyone tell you you shouldn't. Don't ever.